our verse of the week comes out of a passage in the Bible where God is leading the Israelites out of slavery. And I want to kind of read the verses around each side of verse 21, and then we're going to talk about it for a moment. Exodus 13, verse 20. It says, the Israelites left Succoth and camped at Etham on the edge of the wilderness. The Lord went ahead of them. He guided them during the day with a pillar of cloud, and he provided light at night with a pillar of fire. This allowed them to travel by day or by night. The Lord did not remove the pillar of cloud or the pillar of fire from its place in front of the people. Now, I want to kind of help you understand what's going on here. God's chosen people, the Israelites, were slaves in Egypt. And as time passed, they grew tired of slavery, and they began to pray for God to lead them out of slavery, for God to provide somebody to lead them out of slavery, for God to save them. So God chose Moses to lead his people out of slavery. If you've been in Sunday school a whole bunch, you've heard this story. You know how Moses went in and he went to the Pharaoh and asked, let my people go, and Pharaoh said no, and Moses put all these plagues on Pharaoh and the Egyptians through the power that God gave him. And eventually Pharaoh caves. And he says, I've had enough. Take your people and go. So when they left Egypt, God wanted to provide them with leadership. God wanted to provide them with direction. And that's our verse of the week, verse 21. If you go back and you look at it there just for a second, it says, the Lord went ahead of them, and he guided them during the day with a pillar of cloud, and provided light at night with a pillar of fire. This allowed them to travel by day or by night. And then even verse 22, and the Lord did not remove the pillar of cloud or the pillar of fire from its place in front of the people. Yeah. Go ahead. You know where they are? One at a time. So here's the thing. God provided them with this really cool way for them to see that God was there leading them, and that God was guiding them through life. He provided the Israelites with this awesome pillar of fire. Now, when I think about pillars, the first thing I think about are the big columns out in front of the sanctuary out here. You know, the big white, round pillars that are on the front steps of the sanctuary? If you've ever seen them? Or I think about the brick columns, the brick pillars out here that hold up the roof on the edge of our porch out back here. And I think about how tall and how big they are, and I think, can you just imagine what that had to look like floating up in the sky above you leading the way? And God provided something like that. During the day, it was a cloud. At night, it was fire, so that it would light the way for them. Like God gave them headlights so they could see where they were going. It was his way of being with them and guiding them. And James, you don't want to slide any closer. It was his way of guiding them and providing for them on their journey to the promised land. And believe it or not, knowing that God was with them helped the Israelites feel protected from their enemies. It reassured them that they were not alone. It inspired them just knowing that God was there for them and that God was still with them. It gave them so much courage and faith knowing that God was out in front leading the way for them. That God was leading the way for the Israelites. And do you know that he still does that today? That he still helps us just like he helped the Israelites. A matter of fact, we may never see a pillar of cloud in front of us during the daytime or a pillar of fire at night. But God is there. And God gave us the Bible, something the Israelites never had, as his way of guiding our lives and directing our lives. He also promised when Jesus went into heaven that he would give us the Holy Spirit as a way to remind us and direct us throughout life and help us understand what we read in the Bible and guide us every day and all day. Now, we can always look to the Bible and know that God is with us. And we can always be reassured that God is there every day taking care of us. But I want to show you an illustration that helps you understand, an example that will help you understand the difference God makes if we let him guide our lives versus when we try to do things ourselves. Okay? So, with me here, I brought two items, a book and a piece of paper. Now, when I stand up here, yeah. You're going to miss this. You probably don't want to miss it. When I stand up here with a book and a piece of paper, and I get ready to drop these on the ground, which one do you think is going to hit the ground first? Book? Let me see how many of y'all believe the book's going to hit the ground first. Raise your hands. How many of you think the paper's going to hit the ground first?
Yeah.
Blake thinks the paper's going to hit the ground first. Let's just see what happens when I drop these two. Y'all give me a countdown for 3. Go.
3, 2, 1, 7.
I think the book hit the floor first. What do y'all think? Can you hand me the paper and the book back?
Whoa, it sounded like it exploded.
So here's the thing. The book represents God. The paper represents us. When I dropped them separate, which hit the ground first? God, right? When we try to lead our lives by ourselves and guide and direct our path and figure out where we're going without looking to God, we float all over the place and we wander back and forth and we just kind of do our own thing and we get there gradually. But now let me show you the difference it's going to make when I put the paper on the book. And I got to cut my fan for this so the fan will destroy it. When I put the paper on the book and I drop the book, what do you think is going to happen? Yeah. The paper's going to separate from the book? Now keep in mind, the book is God, the paper is us. This is God leading our way in life. Give me a countdown.
3, 2, 1.
Did the paper get to the floor at the same time the book got to the floor? No.
Let's just say it.
It was delayed.
The book, the paper was like that, and then the book fell. It's like in the middle. 3,
Watch it again. Well, that didn't work.
I don't think it worked that time.
Here's the thing. The reason the first time I dropped it, I think the second time that fan caught us back. When I dropped it the first time, the paper and the book got to the ground almost at the same time. Because God was leading the way. Let me see that, James. Well, that would be us leading God. We don't lead God. God doesn't do that to us. He lets us make choices. We can choose to let God lead our lives, or we can choose to do things our own way. If we choose to do things our own way, it might very much be like the paper I dropped the first time. It just kind of took its time to get into the ground and waffle back and forth. When we choose to let God lead the way, it gets there much quicker. It takes care of us. It provides for us. And just like the book led the way for the paper to the ground, God will lead the way for us through life and trust. And we look to Him when we let Him guide our lives. So we're going to go ahead and pray, guys, and then we're going to continue on in worship. Okay? Eyes closed and heads bowed. Dear God, it's so amazing and awesome that you love us so much, that you want to be with us every day, and that you want to be a part of our lives every day.